he's come back. He's in the cycle. You're not going to see it until the Rock of Ages comes, because the Rock of Ages,
I love it.
He needs to knock down the kingdoms.
I love it, Bo. That's a sound clip. Put that in the vault. I love that one.
Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
Welcome to the Daily Truth Report. I'm your host, Noah, and our returning guest today is Bo Polny. Bo, by popular demand, you are back on the show. Everybody's been emailing me, and they all say the same thing. They say, what is Bo saying right now about February, March, and April? So we had to have you back on. Bo, welcome back to the show.
Noah, I love being here. I love your passion. I love your name. It ties in with biblical events. So no, I really appreciate being here. It's so exciting, Noah, to where our world is. And I appreciate, you putting your energies into this and letting your viewers know, because absolutely, Noah, we are living in incredibly epic times. And I'm excited to do our presentation today with you. I worked on the updates. I've updated as a PDF attached for you and your viewers. So please follow along. The PDF link will be included below in this video. So follow along what we're going to talk about today. But the essence of the conversation, this is critical to understand, is the glory of God is about to be released on this country. This is incredible. So as a generation, or numerous generations before us, we have never truly seen the power of God. Think about what Moses got to see, what Noah got to see. They got to see the power of God. And we're about to see that next month, coming here in April. So it's going to be incredible. We're about to see biblical movements of God that only Noah and Moses, the people who live in those timeframes, got to see. And we're about to see those types of incredible movements. We're about to see, the Rock of Ages the rock, the stone. It's about to roll out of heaven. We're about to see the immense power in this world, and our world from that time point will never be the same. And we're talking political changes, financial changes, everything will change forever. So as much as the changes we've seen so far with the start of 2020, it's only going to get more intense because we're about to see the power of God. And I'm so excited to speak with you today, Noah, and to go through all the information. So thanks for having me.
Oh, man. How's that for a teaser, everybody? We're going to talk about all of that. We've got a bunch of slides to cover, but let me just set the stage here first. I always like to put the date in here because these videos get uploaded to YouTube and re-uploaded and spread around. So let's just tell everybody, you and I are talking. It's March 20th, 2021. That's the time we're talking today. And for those of you who don't know Bo, I know a lot of people are tuning into this because you've heard our prior interviews, you've watched what he said, you've watched things come to pass, just like he's told you to watch for. And so you're back to see what he has to say today. But for those of you who don't know Bo, Bo labels himself as an analyst of time. He looks at the time cycles. There are cycles that govern our world. These cycles have shown up they started in the Bible. They're God's cycles that he put into place. And we see these cycles repeat over and over and over. And Bo has taken the analysis of those cycles and he's applying it to our current 2021 year, our current lives. So that's what he does. He tells us when a cycle is starting up, when a cycle is ending, and he's got a lot of updates for us today. So, Bo, we're really happy to have you here. That's just a little background. Now let's jump in. I want to ask you a couple questions first. The biggest question I've been getting from everybody, last time you were on, you gave us a list of dates to watch for. There was February 25th, there was March 6th, and the big ones, plural, were in April. So everybody is asking, tell us what Bo thinks about February and March. And so before we even get into what's coming in April, Bo, let's talk about those dates from February and March and what did we see happen?
Yeah, so February wasn't that key of a date, but it was still an important date, and something was supposed to happen. I think that's when Biden issued the attacks against Syria. That was the event of that date. The more important date was March 6th, which was Revelation 12 sign, 1260 days. That was supposed to be a very important critical time point, and we'll cover that in the presentation today. But that basically delineated the start of the movement of God's hand on this earth, and the start of that is basically seen in gold and silver. And that date, that actual first trading day, Monday, was the bottom and the start of the gold and silver, specifically silver vertical cycle that only leads to a massive explosion later March and then specifically into April. So that time point delineated precisely the exact start point, the final bottom before gold and silver go vertical.
Okay, well, Bo, I'm going to share my screen here so we can all look at these slides you've put together. And let's just jump in. Take us through what we're looking at here. What's coming in April?
Specifically on page 1, we give thanks to you, Lord God Almighty. You have been the one and one who's always been. We thank you because you have used your great power and have now begun to rule. Okay, that's Revelation 11:17. That's what's coming. God's about to begin to rule, and actually not begin. He actually started, and the start date would have been March 6th. That was a starting point when the woman returned. On page 2, we go into the Constitution. The point of the Constitution is it was founded under God. 1/3 of the United States Constitution, it was founded under God. God has a covenant with the United States. And what we're seeing right now is for a season. God works on seasons. And for a season, the season of winter, God let evil rule the United States. And so you've basically seen it from the election all the way to inauguration to present, okay? Today being spring, the first day of spring. Today, Saturday, March 20th, is the first day of spring. Now we're going to see the second season. This is critical. The season of winter was when God gave Satan and evil a window to rule the United States and allow the world to see how bad it is. And I think
no one's going to argue with that. It's been terrible.
Right. And so for that season, God gave the world a taste. Now the next season is spring, and spring brings rejoicing and a rebirth. So God works in seasons. We're now starting spring officially today. So it's basically as early as next week into the week after. But anytime now, we're about to see immense changes hit our world. And remember, when God gets involved in the time of Moses, the time of Noah, what did you see? Earthquakes, volcanoes popping off. So don't be surprised if these things start to happen, because God, he's powerful. And so immense things begin to happen. So, that takes us to page 3.
Hey, Bo, really quick. I wonder, it almost feels like we're starting to get a little signs along the way, aren't we? I mean, we all saw yesterday, Joe Biden, and I'm not going to call him President Biden, but Joe Biden tripped 3 times walking up the stairs to get on his airplane, which I'm also not going to call Air Force One. But it's almost like it's a little sign of what's to come. Stumbling 3 times, isn't it?
Actually, that's funny. It's 3, 3 stumbles. You're correct. That's a great point, Noah. God does everything in numbers, like 3s and 7s, 9s. So, and 3 is a very important number. And he stumbled 3 times on the last day of winter.
Mm-hmm.
And now today, spring starts. Timing is fascinating how these things work out. There are no coincidences biblically. That was interesting. That's a great point you just made. If we scroll to page 3, we are in the seals of Revelation. First seal was opened in last year of 2020. That was coronavirus. The second seal itself was peace taken from the earth on Pentecost, May 31st. And then now we're heading into the third seal, which is going to be a financial event that's about to happen. People have labeled 2020, which you go on the internet, you've said some people label year 2020 as year 0. That's a misnomer.
I've seen that.
Okay. Years, and it's actually what they're picking up is what's happening basically, but it's a misnomer because this story was written 6,000 years ago. It's a story biblically. And so when the Rock of Ages comes, the world changes forever. The Lion Judah opens a seal, the world changes forever. It will never be the same. So year 0 is a misnomer, but it's actually technically, it describes it in a neat way, because from this point on, we're heading into the new era. And this era is basically an era laid out thousands of years ago by God as God's bringing in the seventh kingdom, his kingdom. So that's what's coming. So that takes us to page 4. So now we're going to get into cycles. We've got a large overlaying 400-year cycle interlaced with 3 smaller cycles, which we'll get into in a second. But basically, right now, the United States is a brother and sister relationship with Israel. Israel had a 400-year cycle precisely. Then at the end of the 400th year, Moses takes Israel out to the Red Sea and then basically gives them freedom. And Israel was in bondage to Pharaoh for 400 years, and that was written in Genesis 15:13. The United States is playing the exact same cycle because the Mayflower arrived in November of 1620. If you add 400 years, that's 2020, November, Thanksgiving. So we are now into the first Passover after November. So this first Passover is going to be biblical if it's going to replay the cycle of Pharaoh, Moses, and the Israelites. So it's really incredible and really amazing what's coming here this April. And Passover specifically is not when it starts, it's when it ends. Because remember, Israel was released at the end of Passover, not at the beginning. And so Passover ends on the 4th of April. So that's when we should really start to see the movement of God. Incredible things begin to happen right into that early April time point. And my cycle charts for cryptos, gold, and silver look awesome for April. And we'll talk about that as well later. So that's the overlaying cycle.
Let me jump in and let me set the stage a little bit on this. I want to remind people, you're not talking about April because it's currently March 20th and you want to just set something in the future. It's not like you're just setting this out 30 days. It's not like you're even changing what you've been saying. I want to remind people, you've been saying April 2021 is the month to watch. And you've been saying that for quite a while, 9 months. Since May of 2020, when I was on the Greg Hunter show. So in May of 2020, on the USA Watchdog show, specifically, I double checked that. And that was May of 2020 when I stated, none of this is over, my words were, Greg, until April 26, 2021. And so that's been in concrete since May of 2020. And Bo, we may even find a slice of that and play it in here so everyone can see it, because you just uploaded a video that had clips of that interview, and it was timestamped May of 2020. I remember watching that in May of 2020. I've been watching and hearing you say, watch for April 2021 for a long time. So I just want to remind everybody, and maybe we'll splice that in here, to just say, this is not new. Bo is not just coming up with this today. He's been saying this for a long time. And I, for one, am excited we are finally about to get to April 2021.
If we're going to go talk about Noah's flood, from the 21st of April, Noah doesn't get off the ark for about a year. It's 370 days, actually, precisely. So that would take us to April 26th of 2021. That is the key time point where our world now officially begins this new era in time. So we've gone from old world, we've gone through transition, and now the world steps into a new era. And that new era begins on April 26th of 2021. Yeah, and the crazy part is I never thought, now that we're even here, right? I never thought all of these events would be where we're at right now. It's really incredible. Everyone's thinking, Trump's supposed to be president right now and all, but it's really wild to watch how this is all playing out, because remember, if Trump won the presidency, then Trump won the presidency. Do you understand? Man won, okay? The glory on this event, like when Moses was at the Red Sea, the glory went to God. He's the one that opened the Red Sea. It wasn't Moses, right? So that's what's coming. The glory of this event is going to be a biblical event. It's going to be godly. The world's going to rejoice and go to their knees thanking God, not Trump for winning the election. You understand? So it's so important.
Not Trump, not the Supreme Court, not anything else. All of these options have failed, haven't they?
That's correct. And that's how it's supposed to go down. You're supposed to come to realize that the entire world is run by evil. And I hope the world sees that now. That was the point. That was what God wanted to show the world for a season of winter.
And you're not saying, let's be clear, you're not saying Trump is evil or Trump is bad. And in fact, we're going to talk about him a little bit later on in this interview. He may be coming back, but you're just saying this is a Red Sea moment. This is not a moment where we figure it out on our own.
That's correct, because when this event goes down, it changes the world. If you think the world has changed already with a virus and the peace being taken, you ain't seen the third seal yet. You ain't seen the Rock of Ages come down and destroy everything that's been rock solid in this world that we've realized is the truth. We're going to come to realize all these truths were not truths. They are actually deceits. And so immense awakenings coming, everything changes, but the change is going to be that because God is ruling now, and we're seeing these changes come to pass, because the power of God is about to be unleashed on this earth. So prepare. You should be prepared by now, but boy, April forward, the next 4 years are going to be awesome. You know, as ugly and as bad as the last 3.5, 4 years were, all it was attack. We're going to see glory in the next 4 years, and it all starts in April. So wild and incredible times are coming.
You and I were talking before we started recording this, and something you just said reminded me. You know, you said we're going to come to find out that a lot of things that we thought were rock solid were just fake. They were pure fakery. And we were talking off camera, and we were talking about, again, a couple days ago, I think we saw another sign of this. Joe Biden's green screen malfunctioning. I think everybody's probably seen it, but you can see the video. It's everywhere online. He reaches his hand out and it goes through the microphone of a reporter that was allegedly standing there. That can't happen. The video is so obviously fake. And I just wonder if we're starting again to get little signs that the fakery is about to come to an end. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, all of it is. But here's the thing, right? As much as we're looking for signs, oh, we saw that, you know, oh, they're going to get him in the Supreme Court. None of it works. It doesn't matter how much fake there is, they're not going to stop. These people will not stop. What is their agenda? To basically run the world. They want to control the world because money, as they realize, doesn't bring happiness. So then they want control and power, right? And so that's what they're trying to do. And God's about to put an absolute break on this. We see this stuff, but none of it changes anything, as you've seen. The acting president of the United States for the past 4 years, Trump, right, couldn't drain the swamp, right? Look what happened. Right. The swamp kicked him out. He is the president. He was duly elected a second time. But the point is the swamp kicked him out because he doesn't belong in the swamp, right? He's trying to play in the swamp, which is not where he's supposed to be, right? Everything he did was to try to stop the swamp. So they didn't want him in there. Let's continue to roll through the slides, but you'll understand how this is playing out in just a few minutes here as you watch and go through the slides, because this is incredible. I woke up like last night and I had this presentation as I spoke with you, and I had it finished, and God last night said, no, you missed like 9 slides. So I was getting them all in here today. So I'm sorry this might take a little extra time, but he wanted you to see the whole story. So I'm laying out the whole story for you. This takes us to page 5, Revelation 12 sign. Everyone's like, oh, nothing happened. It was a revelation. Okay, understand this storyline. It was laid out in the Bible 2,000 years ago. How do they know that? Okay, number one, how do they know that? Number two is it happened. And then Virgo gave birth, and then Virgo fled to the wilderness, only to return 1,260 days later, which was March 6, 2021, just a couple weeks ago. So everyone's like, well, what happened March 6? Well, remember, when God moves, or when dates are set up biblically, sometimes they're very specific things that happen, but you may not see them unless you're looking. So if we scroll up, continue to go to page 6, you'll see the date itself was March 6, 2021. And so scroll up higher, go to page 7. Then you have to overlay Daniel's timeline, but the specific, I laid here Daniel's time so you can see the actual, how it lays out. But you'll see specifically 1,260 days takes us to March 6, 2021. And if you go to page 8, you'll see, Noah, that on that precise time point, the first trading day, gold bottomed, silver itself bottomed on the very first trading day, went straight up, has now gone sideways, and all that's left, because that was the final delineating bottom for the precious metals. and it's going to go sideways a little longer here, and then it's just going to go vertical. Rocket ship, okay? So somewhere between now into April, we're going to see a rocket ship price move on the precious metals. Because why? God's going to make it happen, because they will not. They have controlled the precious metals for generations, and as long as the precious metals are worth less and their dollar is worth more, they can continue to perpetuate their game that they've been ruling the world with. Because what controls the world? Bribes and payoffs. And what are the payoffs? With a US dollar, okay? So that takes us up to page 9. Why is this such an important time point? Because 49 years ago, August of 2020, in August of 71, Nixon detached or severed the link between the gold and the dollar, allowing them to create infinite amounts of paper currency or digital dollars, whatever you want to call it, but fiat currency could be printed to infinity. Do you think fiat money is being printed to infinity? Do you see how many trillions of dollars they can create out of thin air whenever they need it?
Every day.
Every day, every president that leaves, they leave there's another 20 or 10 trillion dollars that were created in that presidency. All you see is just trillions of dollars being created. How can they do it? Why? It's not attached to anything. And the only thing holding it together is faith and confidence, okay? Well, God's about to take care of that. Okay, that's about to be severed. So between now until August, okay, that will be the 50th year. So basically from August to August is 50 years. We're in the 50-year Jubilee cycle. That's Leviticus 25:9, page 10. Page 10 specifically says on the 10th day of the 7th month, and this is God's timeline, so this is Rosh Hashanah, not our timeline. So from Rosh Hashanah, September of 2020, 10 days, 7 months forward, we're at April 23rd, 2021. So wow, is that incredible? But we're coming up to a Leviticus 25:9 point, which is basically, behold the Lord, for this is the year of Jubilee. And so that is, and supposed to be an incredibly powerful time point. So page 11, if we read what a 50-year Jubilee is, it's proclaim liberty throughout the land and to all of its inhabitants. Well, how do you proclaim liberty unless something big and huge happens? The chains are supposed to be broken. What are the chains? The chains are that of debt. Because basically when you enslave humanity, the greatest way to enslave humanity is to make them think that they're not enslaved. See, like in the time of Pharaoh, they had chains. Now everyone is enslaved, but they don't realize it. Well, how did you get enslaved? Well, do you have a student loan? Do you have a mortgage? Do you have a credit card? Okay, because if you have those, you are enslaved, but you don't even know it. That's the greatest form of enslavement. So these people have gotten really smart, and that's what they've done. But God's about to break the chains, and at that moment in time, it's supposed to happen in April, potentially the 23rd. Again, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm giving you dates, and all I'm going to sit back with the rest of us and rest of you, we're going to watch. So that takes us to page 12.
Hey, Bo, the borrower is the slave to the lender.
That's correct. There you go. Thank you, Noah. Now we know why you call you Noah, because you have all the fill-in pieces.
Well, and also I'm just thinking as you're talking about printing money and everything else, most people don't know when the Federal Reserve, which is not federal and has no reserves, when they print money, they loan it to the United States with interest. From the very moment dollars are created, they are created as a debt instrument, and we are enslaved from the moment they are created. That whole system has to go.
That's what it is. And that's what they've done, right? God gave the world a fair monetary system. It's called gold and silver. And every time they want to control humanity, they start messing with it. So what did Rome do? Well, they took the coins and they started sticking lead into them and other metals, right? So they devalued it. It's always about control. So now we've seen the greatest control in human history with this fiat money. It's absolutely incredible. And so, but these timelines are incredible. So now we've got, that was the first cycle. So we have the overlaying 400-year cycle. Next is the Leviticus 25:9, which is the first cycle. The second overlaying cycle would be the Red Sea moment cycle. So when Pharaoh releases Israel and Moses and Israel leave, that's the day after Passover ends. And that would be the 5th. And then we go 20 days takes to get to the Red Sea. And on the 20th day, God closed the Red Sea on Pharaoh's army. That date would be the 25th of April. So wow, within 48 hours of Leviticus 25:9, we've got the Red Sea moment. Okay, that's incredible. So what's going to happen? I don't know. But now we got two immensely powerful cycles leading into a third cycle. We got a Noah's Ark cycle. Now, I know you know, Noah, that this cycle is valid because you saw when the cycle started. You saw the start date of April 20th of last year when oil went to -38 or basically below zero. So that was the start of the cycle. You saw that, okay? And that perked your ears because the next key time point was 150 days, right? And 150 days end up being Rosh Hashanah. And what happened in Rosh Hashanah? The death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Did I know? No, I just had the date. Okay, so the next date is 220 days. And so this is what we've talked about, Noah, and you've seen my interviews. So now, again, these are not my interviews. This is like, I'm doing this, but I'm doing it as a messenger of God, okay? So I don't want credit for this stuff, okay? I'm doing this to wake up the world, to show the world God's glory, God's power, and God's timing on things. Because yes, God does have time, and he works in times and he works on seasons. And so
explain, Bo, why the 370? What's that mean?
So 370 days is a time when the door closed, it rained for 40 days, the water kept rising to 150 days, it peaked out at 150 days, would have been Rosh Hashanah. So we're just taking that time cycle. And then Noah stayed on the ark floating for 220 more days, for a total of 370 days before he stepped off the ark. Now, when Noah stepped off the ark, I got to tell you, everything's wiped out, okay? So you have to understand that was a new world, a new era. Would you not say?
Right.
Would you not? Just like when the Red Sea closed on Pharaoh's army and they were on the opposite side with the Red Sea separating now whatever was left of Pharaoh and Israel, would you not say that Israel started off in a new era? Okay?
Yes.
So the point is that time point is lining up to potentially be, or supposed to be, the starting point of the new era. So we are in transition right now. So the world is in transition until the 26th or the end of April 2021, when then we step into a new era, just like Noah did. Just like Israel was now in a new era with a Red Sea separating them. So what's going to happen at the end of April? I have no idea. But all I'm telling you is 24 hours later from the Red Sea moment, you've got the Noah cycle completing. So within a 72-hour window, you've got the 23rd of April to the 26th of April, 72 hours of three incredibly powerful biblical cycles that changed the world forever.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, Bo, most people think Noah was on the ark for 40 days because that's the only number we hear, but he was on there for a long time. It was not just 40 days and 40 nights. Even that would have been a long time, but it was 370 days when you go back in.
So biblically, a year is 360 days because it's a circle, 360, that's a cycle. And then you add 10 days because it was 370 days. And again, I didn't make that up. It's in Genesis. So go read Genesis. It's Genesis 8. It's right in there, okay? But why does God give the exact timelines in Genesis for that? Think about that. Mm-hmm. Why did God give those dates, the timeline, for us to calculate? Because the glory of kings it says in the Bible, glory of kings is to calculate his time. So he puts that in there for a reason, for us to calculate his timelines. They're not secret. God does nothing before first speaking through his servants, the prophets. I am not a prophet. I'm using timelines, probably consider myself a messenger of God, but I'm using his biblical timelines and I'm showing the world how incredible they are. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm telling you that's an incredible time point. So that takes us to page 14. I've summarized it all for you right there. Let's see what happens, but there's some really key important time points.
Wow, what a month.
And then the 4 years, remember when Virgo, she returns, the Daniel's timeline is then 30 days, then 1260, then 45 in the back end. So the entire cycle is 1335 days. That takes us to 2024. Point at the end of 2024, October. So the point is, starting now into the next 4 years are supposed to be the most incredible biblical times the world's ever seen. We're going to see the glory of God. We're going to see people preaching the word of Jesus, the name of Jesus. We're going to see people uprising and just they're first going to fall because God's going to knock them to the knees, and then they're going to raise up and they're going to it's because remember, he has to knock you to your knees so he can raise you up, and he's going to raise the most powerful church the world's ever seen in these next 4 years. And it's going to be incredible to watch and show you these timelines because they are prophetic. We go to page 15, and this is the point is the dollar. This has been the controlling instrument for generations now. And so it begins to crash. The crash comes March here into April. That's again the beginning of it, and then it gets worse. Okay, so it's going to get worse, and then we're probably going to see a bond start to debuckle and break, and so it's going to get bad here over the next few months, and so it's about to start, and then it gets to worse. And
does that mean the stock market too, Bo? Does that take the stock market down?
I'm not 100% sure about that, so I'm not going to, I'm not going to commit to that one. I'm committed on the dollar to describe what happens there. I believe the stock market is going to have a horrible year next year. That's just my best guess, because then I think the dollar gets destroyed first. The position of faith and confidence gets broken, and then the next event would be the stock market. But ultimately, both go down, because that ultimately is related to the third seal of Revelation, which is rebalancing of the world's financial system. Now, so let's continue to page 16. Silver itself and gold's a very similar cycle, but this is a huge 40-year cup and handle cycle. People who may not know, what charting is and how charts work, but the bottom line is I made it really simple here for you. Just look at the top chart. That's an example of what's called a cup and handle. And then when the handle breaks to the upside, it explodes and never looks back. Okay. So right now, the blue arrow points to where the world's at. And potentially in April, that handle's supposed to break to the upside, and silver and gold never look back. Point being is we know that March 6th marked the final bottom. So all we know from this point on is it's going to keep pushing until it blows and goes vertical, and then it never looks back. Exciting times for God's money. It's important. If you want to prepare, I'm not giving you any financial advice. I'm just showing you charts and what I see happening. You can make your own decisions, but if you want to be a part of the transition into this new financial system, well, you're looking at a chart that's showing you what's supposed to happen. So decide if you want to be a part of that or not. That's your decision, but I'm showing you what's coming. Prophetically, if we go to the next page, at page 17, these are the words of God. I want to read this. Gold goes off the charts. That means straight vertical, okay? And silver becomes the new item of economic security that opens a new door of luxury to those who have attained this precious metal. The point being is, as good as gold's going to be in the future, silver is going to trump any movements that gold does. So silver will be the number one. It was the most hated asset for generations, will become the most desirable asset into the future. Go ahead, Noah.
Wow. What are we talking about here? When you say a vertical takeoff, silver's maybe $27 an ounce right now. What are we talking about? Does that mean it goes up? And I know you don't put dollar limits or targets on things, but talking ranges, are we talking it goes up to $50? Does it go to $100? I've heard some people say $600. What does that mean? What are we looking for?
The number is really irrelevant. You just got to look at the Bible, and it tells you what damages are and what blessings are. Okay. So damages are sevenfold. So when you damage somebody, you pay them back sevenfold. And that's first. So that's the first thing that's coming. So just take the price, multiply by 7, and that would be damages. Now, blessings, this is not me. This is this is what's written about blessings. This is what Jesus told the apostles. Blessings are 30, 60, or 100-fold. So which will it be? I have no idea. But God is not a percentage God. He doesn't do like 20%. Okay. He's he multiplies. Okay. Just remember, God's a multiplier. Okay. So multiplication damages 7, blessings 30, 60, or 100 times. So it'll be one of those, but first is going to be damages. And then after damages comes blessings. So you can do your own math, but it's a lot higher than $600 in the long run.
Wow.
A lot higher than that. So who cares what it goes to? I don't think you'll be able to get it. That's the bigger problem. So if you're waiting to buy, you probably won't be able to get it. And we had it pop vertical in February, and all the dealers shut down all weekend. You couldn't even buy it. So my point is, if you wait, at some point it becomes unobtainium.
Yeah, that's great.
Page 18, what is the Great Reset? People have talked about that. Well, on page 18, we talk specifically, I want to describe what it is. It's the third seal of Revelation. It's the financial rebalancing. So read about the third seal, but basically it's a financial rebalancing. So the scales are out of balance right now, and they're going to go completely in the opposite direction. So the financial system you know today will not be the financial system of tomorrow. And if you want to participate in the shift, and this will be the greatest financial event in human history, the shift will be, you would have to be involved in, you'd have to either cryptocurrencies or you'd have to have gold or silver. Those would be the rebalancing when the shift occurs. So as high as cryptocurrencies are now, or some of them are now, they're only front running what gold and silver are about to do. And even what cryptocurrencies have done, you still haven't seen what they're about to do. Wow. That's the crazy part. Even at the prices things are at today, you haven't seen what's still coming, okay? Because remember, we're talking trillions of dollars have been created, so they got to go somewhere. Energy isn't just destroyed.
Right. Well, Bo, we're going to talk more about that in just a few minutes in these slides, but I made a note before our show here. I went back and looked at some of our old interviews. You came on this show back at November 5th of 2020. And you told everyone at that time, you said, get ready for a vertical explosion in Bitcoin. It's coming. And back then, I looked it up. It was 14,500. As we record this interview, it's right at 60,000. And you're telling us it hasn't even started yet.
That's correct. Yeah.
Wow.
So all I can tell you is the greatest financial event in human history is upon us. Do you want to be a part of it? It's personal choice. Page 19 brings us to the dawn of the new era. After April 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th, that leads us into April 27th. So somewhere at the end of April, we're supposed to see the birth of the new era, the time point that equates to the Red Sea being closed, Noah stepping off the ark. So that's where we're supposed to be, the dawn of a new era. So that's when right now the world's in a situation of fear and hopelessness. In the new era, come the end of April, say start of May, it will turn to peace, rejoicing, and love. So our world will be dramatically changed. If you don't think that's possible, let me tell you one thing about God. In the beginning, there was nothing. It was black. It was dark. Like our world right now, it was dark, nothing. And what did God say? Let there be light.
Light.
And in 6 days, everything changed. If you think that God needs months, years, he created everything in 6 days and he rested on the seventh. So I'm telling you, what's coming is going to be biblical. It's going to be awesome. What it involves, I have no idea. But it's going to change our world forever. And the point being is evil's not getting knocked out. They're getting knocked down. That's a big difference because they come back, and we're going to talk about that later. Let's scroll up to page 21 here. This is important to understand too, because people talk about, this is like, age of Aquarius, and, we're entering a new age, and it's going to be one. I want you to understand this prophecy, what we're living in was given to Daniel to give to Nebuchadnezzar 2,600 years ago. Every single kingdom has happened. We've had, and that Daniel statue is there on page 21, started with the head of gold and the chest, the thighs, the legs, and it describes kingdoms. Right now, we're at the feet, and the papacy ended. Now we're at the United States. It's trying to bind the iron and the clay. And the clay and iron don't bind. Read about this, but it's written in Daniel. Clay and iron do not bind. Because they don't bind, it doesn't work. So right now, in this this past winter season, evil tried to bind God's church with him. And you just saw how did that feel? How did you enjoy that, everybody? Okay. Did you like it? Because that's what he's trying to do, but it doesn't bind. And so you go to page 22. This is the Rock of Ages. God is about to cast the rock of ages upon our world. The stone, the rock, is rolling out of heaven. And we are about to see God take down all the kingdoms. What does that mean? It means the financial system that you know comes to an end. It means the political system that you know comes to an end. It means the religious system. When I say religious, I mean religions, because religions are all man-made, comes to an end. All of the things you know come to an end. Christ, he's the king of his kingdom. He's not a religion. And so the rock of ages comes, he takes down all the kingdoms. So God is returning, preparing for the return of his son, Christ. For the return of his son, Christ. Page 23, who would be the best person to usher in and prepare for the return of Christ? How about, what do you do if you're Jewish and you're going to knock down a city? You blow a trumpet. So Trump is God's trumpet. He is preparing the way for the return of Christ, whether he knows it or not. Just like David was doing God's work. All the kings of Israel doing God's work. The point is, so Trump's cycle basically started at election, November 8th of 2016. 1,260 days took us to oil going to zero, negative 38. Now we're in the second Trump cycle. He's not president. Well, he got elected. You just don't see it yet. There's the only difference, okay? But the cycle doesn't end until November or December of 2023. So he's come back. Because why? He's in the cycle. You're not going to see it until the Rock of Ages comes. Because the Rock of Ages,
I love it.
He needs to knock down the kingdoms.
I love it, Bo. That's a sound clip. Put that in the vault. I love that one. We're going to look back on that.
That's what I got this morning. So if you want, so Noah, so I apologize for having you wait an extra hour for me, but God said that's the piece that I need to, give you. And so there you go. So that's why it's taken so long, because it was a season for us to taste evil and see how crappy it tastes. And now spring is here. And then we can roll over to page 2024, and we're going to talk about evil, because if you believe in God, you have to believe in evil, because a coin has two sides. And so evil does return. Evil comes back, and it rears its head, and it's going to be bad. So you need to make sure that, you are, and your family, you got everybody prepared by 2027. And the reason is because he comes in, because all the horses are riding, right? You got the 4 horses, you got plague upon the earth, you got pestilence, you got all the horses riding. And so what ends up happening is that you got this false savior come in, potentially, I believe, and he's going to come in and save the world. And much of the world is going to buy it, hook, line, and sinker. Those are the ones who refuse to wake up, unfortunately. And so there's the ones that, that's saying how horrible the world's going to be. Well, not for God's kingdom, not for those who believe in Christ, who have prepared. It's for those who are stuck in the cities by choice. So that takes us to page 25. Page 25 talks about the billion soul harvest, the wheat and the tares. It's going to be the wheat and the tares, the good and the evil. God ultimately comes and binds the evil, throws them in the lake of fire. But, the billion soul harvest starts in April, and we're going to see 4 years of wow on this earth. And it's going to be incredible in terms of the spiritual uprising. And this Thanksgiving is going to be one of the best Thanksgiving in human history, because it'll be the first Thanksgiving, the first spiritual uprising on this earth. So incredible 2021. So as I stated, what started in 2020 ends in 2021. And that's because in 2021, we see the Rock of Ages come down. And then the long-term cycle here, just to know, God works on a 4-2-1 cycle, 4,000 years of the Jews, 2,000 years of the Gentiles, 1,000 years of peace with Christ and marriage, okay? So somewhere 2030, I don't want to put a date on it, but I'm telling you 2030 to 2040, somewhere in there, that's where the 1,000 years of the millennial reign begins. There's 10 years and 9 years left. Got to be ready in the next 4 years. Really important. And that takes us to preparation at page 27. How do you prepare? Faith. All you need is faith. That's all you need. But if you want to prepare further, food and water, that is important. If you want to prepare for your family, and if financially, if you want to be part of the financial reset, of the third seal, this is a third seal event. The third seal event will be how to prepare for the shift, be involved in precious metals, gold and silver, specifically silver, and cryptocurrencies that will transition you. I want to be clear about this. Cryptocurrencies are not God's money. Okay, they are not God's money. So ultimately, who made cryptocurrencies? Man made cryptocurrencies. Well, who made the dollar and fiat money? The dollar. Okay, so ultimately, how are they going to control you in the future? Now they're controlling you with a dollar, and then they're going to control you with cryptocurrencies. So the point is, so anybody who puts all their eggs in the basket of cryptocurrencies is making a huge mistake. Why? Because cryptocurrencies don't buy you freedom in the long run.
That's good, Bo. That's good.
Silver and gold do, because if they can control, not today, not tomorrow, okay, I'm talking years out. Now, yes, there's time points for that, but I'm not necessarily talking about that, still years out. But at some point in the future, cryptocurrencies will be controlled by man to control man. Controlled by man to control man, just like they're doing right now. And when that event comes, you will need the mark and all these kind of things. So down the road, you don't want to be a part of the crypto system, okay? And you won't be able to get gold and silver. That's the problem, because it'll be unobtainium. So it's important to have both. And then buy the assets that, I'm personally, things you want to hold and buy, that you use your cryptos for that, but you hold your precious metals for the future because you will need them for your family. So that's kind of how to look at it. But a financial event is coming, one of the greatest ones in human history. It's directly tied in with the third seal of Revelation, which is a rebalancing of the financial system. That's the black horse. So we're here. It's about to happen. It comes in 2021. And then we can scroll over to the next page.
I'm really glad you covered that, because I get that question all the time from people saying, well, cryptocurrencies are just as bad as the dollar, if not worse, because now they can control you on a ledger and everything else. So I'm really glad you said that. Bo is not telling you this is the long term, but it is a short term, and they are going up. So you might as well get on for the short term.
Just to kind of remember, cryptocurrencies, but I want you, this is really important to understand, because cryptocurrencies are front running gold and silver, because those that know the dollar is going down. So the people are piling in to cryptos, Bitcoin, other cryptos, to front run this event. And that's why you're seeing these price explosions so far, which are only going to accelerate faster and higher. The point being is they will achieve higher percentage gains quicker than gold and silver.
Yeah.
So
thank you for covering that.
Right. So front running it, there's nothing wrong with owning cryptos. You're basically positioning yourself for an enormous prosperity that you can decide what the heck you want to do with in the future, but you front run it. And then you can, but what you're supposed to do is use it for God's glory. That's the next page, page 28. And that's for building arcs of safety. These are areas that God's church is going to be separated from the world. And we're going to build places of safety in the mountains. Beautiful places will be built over the next years to come. And those will be for God's kingdom, and God will protect with his angels and guard those areas. And those will be areas just like the time of Noah. Noah built an ark. There will now be numerous arks throughout the world in the mountains of safe havens. So that is what's coming. And that's really how this is coming along. There is no pre-trib rapture or something, if there was, Noah would have needed to build an ark. Mm-hmm. So it's important to prepare. And then if we scroll over to page 29.
I sure like the look of living in a place like this, Bo, versus a rat-infested apartment in New York City. How about you?
Well, absolutely, right. And here's the thing, too. This is a great point you make, right? So you read Revelation, it's like, oh my God, it's never mind the fourth seal, the four horsemen. Then you got like the bowls of wrath. You're talking, the trumpets of the wrath. We're talking a third of the water disappears. Hail, this 100-pound hailstorms, mountains disappearing. Okay. You don't want to be a part of that, okay? That's not for God's church. That's for man who chooses not to be a part of God's kingdom. So God's not going to unleash his wrath on his bride to be. It's really important to understand.
That's good.
So page 29, starting in April, a miracle comes. It's supposed to come in April. If it doesn't come in May or March, I'm just telling you, we're at a point where a miracle is coming. And what just happened was man challenged God. You don't win that one. Okay. So that was in winter. How'd you like that? Okay.
Yeah, not good.
Evil cannot overcome God's will. And, evil's trying to overcome God. Well, that doesn't work out either. Okay. The same God that was with David is the same God of today. And we are going to see incredible events transpire. We are living in biblical times. And I can just tell you that all of my presentation today, I give you this. I did it out of my heart to give to the world to see timelines. Because bottom line is, I just want the world prepared. I want the world to see what God's plans are, because God does nothing before first speaking through his servants, the prophets. Point is that all of this presentation, all glory of things are coming, all glory goes to God. That's the key here. This is, I don't want glory. I don't want any of that. I'm a messenger. I'm showing you what I see coming. And the reason I know a lot of this, I know these things are coming because I see the cycles forward. I have the patterns, and Noah, you've had my crypto cycles for a while. And you've seen how crazy accurate these things are.
Bo, I just want to jump in there. I say this every time you come on, but I want to say it now seems like a good point to say it again. We've been on here talking. When we get talking, it seems like time flies, and I know I have a lot of fun. But we've been talking for over an hour. We're talking on a Saturday. You're taking your time to come on this show and give away everything you've done for free. You put together this 30-page slideshow that you worked on for days and still wrapped up this morning. You do all of that for free. You come on the show for free. You tell people what you're seeing, and so. I just want to thank you for being on. We're not done yet. We're not wrapping up, but I want to thank you for taking your time to come on this show, as you always do, and for giving away. The link to this presentation is going to be below the video. Go down there. You can grab it for free. You can go through and read these slides again at your own leisure. But Bo, thank you for taking your time, and we really do appreciate it. So for everyone watching, we'd like to thank you for being on.
No, thanks. And I want to finish here talking about the cryptos because I know a lot of people are interested in them. So we're going to get into Bitcoin. But I appreciate, I appreciate you having me. I appreciate the fact that you put respect in my work and what I've done and what I'm showing here.
Bo, I would have a lot of upset people if I let you go without talking your view for cryptos in the future. So let's talk about them. I've got the Bitcoin screen up right now.
Okay. Yeah. So, because, whatever's moving, people are excited about, right? So right now, cryptocurrencies are moving, so everybody's excited about them. So I made this chart up yesterday. The chart is dated the 19th of March. So at that point, Bitcoin was 58,500. Bitcoin's about to have its next vertical move. I believe it starts, it's supposed to start here for the cycle next week. So it's going to take out 60 and run. But from Yom Kippur, that was the $10,000 floor that it was having challenges with for a long time. Finally, it took out that on Yom Kippur because the dollar started to drop. So go back to the dollar chart from earlier. The dollar began to drop, and then that's basically been the acceleration point for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, since the dollar began to drop on Yom Kippur, is up $48,000 as of yesterday. So Bitcoin is in an upcycle, getting ready to run vertical. So as high as the price is right now, it's just getting ready to explode vertical. And so those who are involved in cryptos, my subscribers, they're very happy. We've had the patterns here for months, since last year. It's been incredible. To give a little bit of info, so Bitcoin has a very powerful move coming here. But after that powerful move, it's without giving out dates or times. And then there's going to be a heck of a sharp drop. So you got to be careful. So, those are in trading, if you're looking for time points for those drops, we provide those. And then after that, it's going to go sideways for a bit. And then it's going to rip vertical. And wow, is that next move going to be something for the record book? So we've got Bitcoin Mania, we've got Gold Rush, Silver Fever. All of this is about to begin. The time point from what I'm seeing on the charts here, it all starts in April. So in the crypto cycle, you have to be careful. There's a couple big moves coming, but then followed by sharp drops. Because remember, these big moves that we're seeing are going to be followed by multi-$1,000 drops. because of the prices that Bitcoin's at right now. So, if people are interested in cycle time points for these moves, okay, then we provide those dates, time points in our Bitcoin index, and also in our exclusive turn dates. But I want to preface all that with, you don't need any of this if you're not a trader and you don't even know what Bitcoin is, or just none of this is necessary. Buy precious metals and gold and silver, and you're good. If you never bought cryptocurrencies before, you don't need the Bitcoin index, because that gives how the movement works. If you want to get involved, my son opened up called Easy Crypto School, and Easy Crypto School, he shows you how to buy your first Bitcoin and then ultimately how to store it safely. So you have that as an option. So the point being is that, yes, we have information on cycles and patterns, but none of those are important for anybody who just is buying and holding cryptocurrencies or specifically gold and silver.
I love it, Bo. Not only does Bo come on and give us an hour and a half of his time for free and put together the slideshow, but then he basically tells you don't have to sign up for his service unless you want to. I love that, Bo. You're not pushing this on people, but the flip side of that is a lot of people want to know a lot more details about what you're seeing. They do want to know the turn dates for Bitcoin, or maybe they feel like they don't want to buy Bitcoin at $60,000. They'd rather get into a cheaper cryptocurrency like the ones you have up on the screen. You cover those. You tell I'm a subscriber. I read the newsletter, Bo. I love it. And actually, I'm not a trader. I don't buy and sell, but I love knowing what's coming next. So I like it. I thought I would do something kind of fun here that we've never done before, but I want to give people a taste of what's in that newsletter in case they have not subscribed yet or ever before. It's not just Bitcoin. I mean, we talk about Bitcoin, but that's kind of like a term for the whole industry. You cover a bunch of different coins. You've got a lot of them up on the screen right there. But I want to tell people, about 6 months ago, you started telling me, and I'm not gonna tell everybody the name of the coin, but you started telling me there was one coin, and it's not Bitcoin, that you like a lot. And you see a lot of bigger percent opportunity in this one than you do in some of the others. And it was about 2 cents when you told me about it. And then I looked back at your newsletter, because I had not subscribed before that, and I looked at some old editions, and you'd been telling your readers about it when it was below a penny. So they're buying it at fractions of a penny. You told me about it at 2 cents. And then I looked at today before we came on the air. It's about 7 or 8 cents right now. And your most recent newsletter that came out yesterday said, you're thinking this thing might hit $1 yet this year, and maybe ultimately up to $5. So I'm not going to, that's for your paying customers, Bo. I'm not going to tell them what coin that is, but that's the kind of stuff that you cover in there. And you tell people, hey, now it's getting ready for an up cycle, or it's getting ready for a down cycle. And I'm personally pretty happy that I bought it at 2 cents.
If you read my newsletter, right, you can see I basically show you what coins I've got. And Bitcoin is less, I think it's like one of my least coins that I have in terms of percentage holdings. Bitcoin is the tide. So when Bitcoin goes up, so is everything else. The advantage is when you look at the charts and you analyze the patterns, right? There's coins that as the tide goes up, they outperform the tide by margins. So that's basically what my cover is, how to take advantage of the percentage moves, not just buying Bitcoin, but you want to hold the coins that are outperforming Bitcoin. And so we cover a handful of them. I think it's 7 coins we have in there that have blown away Bitcoin. And all I get are emails from my subscribers. Thank you, Bo. You've changed my family's life. I don't know how to repay you. It's I get numerous of those emails of just how people's lives have just financially changed forever. Money gives people the thing of confidence, and it gives them freedom. So the point is that, and this hadn't started yet. Like we talked about, the third seal is about to pop. The events that are coming are going to be crazy. So those involved in precious metals and specifically even the cryptos and some of the key smaller coins, the percent gains that they're going to see is going to be, to coin the word, biblical on some of these things.
Even right now, right, Bo? I mean, it's not too late to get in on some of those.
No, absolutely not. Because especially something like I would not personally be buying Bitcoin. I would be loading up on the on some of the alternate coins that we have there, because they're fractions of what a Bitcoin costs, and the percent gains they're going to do is going to be far outpace Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin's easy going to go to 200,000 this year, right? But even where it's at, that's like 4x. Okay, but when you see a 4x move or 3.5, whatever it is, but the coins are going to do 10x, 20x. 30x when Bitcoin does that. You see what I'm saying? 30 times moves when Bitcoin does 4.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not a trader, Bo. I don't.
Yes. No, you don't need to be a trader. You just got to hold the right coins. That's the point.
Yep. Well, if you want to see the full list, he put together a code. You just type in code at NOAH49, and you're going to get it for special price. I think he left that good until April. So April 1. So if you want that, get it. Like Bo says, if you don't want it, don't get it. Just buy some silver and buy some cryptocurrencies if that's what you feel you need to do. And neither one of us is a financial advisor. I'm a reporter. I report what's going on. I personally am buying some. So, Bo, let's keep rolling. What else you got on here?
But if the watchman does not sound the alarm to warn the people, I will hold the watchman responsible for their deaths. My point is that I'm putting out the information for the world. Choose to do what you wish with the information, but choose wisely.
Yeah, I love that. You feel like you need to put this information out, and I feel the same way that I need to report these things. I mean, that's why I started doing this. I started a whole website just so I could start reporting and putting the news out there. And I tell people all the time, I report it, you decide what to do with it.
In closing, all glory to God. God the Father is in charge. He has planned this. This has been in the works for thousands of years. None of this is unexpected. In closing, God the Father is in complete control. So fear not.
I love it. Bo, thank you so much for coming back on the show. We've got some sound bites in this video that I think we are going to look back on and say, I can't believe that we talked about those back in March of 2021. So I'd like to thank you for your time. Thank you for your work in putting together these slides. And we are looking forward to entering this new era of time.
Thanks, Noah. God bless you. God bless your viewers. I tell all your viewers this: please pray on what I've said. Take it into your heart and listen to your heart. Listen to no one but yourself. God speaks to everybody. And I'm just telling you, it's going to be an incredible shift coming this year, 2021. And I pray that people, don't be scared or not alarmed of things to come. Just know that it's all in God's plan. God bless everybody.
Thank you, Bo. We'll see you next time.